Welcome to Rome. This is The Bittersweet Life with Katie Sewell and Tiffany Parks. Hello, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell. Tiffany is away this week, but I am joined by Victoria Montes. She's a writer and teacher and a longtime expat, currently living in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. She's spent much of her life moving around the world, navigating identity and home, transitions, and the complicated emotions that come with uprooting and beginning again. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Katie.
Before I ask you some of the deeper questions, I want to get kind of a baseline picture of what your life was like growing up. Why have you been moving around so much during your lifetime?
Well, when I was 6 years old, we lived in Maryland, and my mother married my stepfather. He was a diplomat. We were sent to Nigeria first. He was the agriculture attaché, aka CIA. They kind of convinced us it was going to be great because they told us we could get a pet monkey and that chocolate grew on trees.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when we got there, somebody had been bitten by a monkey, so we had to get rabies shots instead of monkey. I was thinking Curious George was going to be my best friend.
Yeah, of
And then
course.
the chocolate that grew on these green pods, and it wasn't that great. It wasn't Hershey Kisses or anything that I expected. So I was kind of bitterly disappointed when I first was sent overseas. But it was a great life. For the next 10 years, I would spend time in Nigeria, Morocco, and Pakistan with my father moving as a diplomat.
Well,
So yeah, that was pretty much my early upbringing
yeah. So of
overseas.
those three places as a growing up, was there one that you liked the best?
I think I was happy as a child in Morocco because I felt accepted and I was like in all the plays and it was. But once I got to Pakistan, I came into Pakistan. We had to leave Morocco rather quickly. We left in 79 and we got there 4 years before that. So I was not really happy about having to leave Morocco because I had made friends and things were looking up for me. And once we got to Pakistan, I got braces on my teeth. I had to deal with acne. And I was not good at sports and everything. You were defined completely about what sports you were in. And so I found myself kind of not belonging and feeling kind of left out of things.
Mm,
And I found tennis at that time. I like to talk about how I think that our life is defined with choices
mm.
and that some of those choices we embrace and some of them they come to us and we don't realize what a great thing they're going to be in the end. And finding tennis, I became a tennis coach. I played tennis for the army.
Mm.
It just like it was such a good failure because I think sometimes our failures are the things that help us grow in a different direction and help us get
Mm-hmm.
whatever we didn't know we were looking for.
Yeah.
I went to Pakistan and I learned to play tennis, and I had my own set of confidence that built up in me. In Pakistan, also in 1978, the Soviets came in and invaded Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Students from our school were in that invasion. They were in homes
Mm.
watching bombs, being afraid. And I really wanted to go on that trip, but I wasn't good enough at anything to be on that trip. So I stayed home and
Ah.
had to watch from the outskirts, which was a mixed blessing. I mean, they got the adventure. And as a writer, I think, adventure, that's the kind of thing we want to get immersed in. And then in 1979, we'd been 10 years overseas and it was only a 10-year limit. And so my father was sent back to the States. In November of 1979, the hostages were taken in Iran and our embassy was overrun. And one of our Marines, Stephen Crowley, was killed. And I was not there, and it's hurtful to today because I was an outsider, but I was seeing my friends and my country and my home suddenly overnight. It was no longer ours. I think kind of like people feel in Bahrain right now. I mean, they're being sent home. And I was not in that either. So I felt like an outsider looking in, mourning that loss, but not really, it didn't really belong to me.
Yeah.
I wrote my first book. It's called The Embassy Burned. And that's about the death of Stephen Crowley and what happened in Pakistan. And in that, I could actually put myself in the story, which is a wonderful thing about stories. You get to reinvent these worlds where you can be in them.
Mm-hmm. So what happens? You get through your teen years. You've now lived in multiple places around the world. What do you do from there?
Well, my mother always told me that the only way I'd support myself was in medicine. I was athletic. I was on tennis. I was playing tennis every day. So she said, you should be a physical therapist. So I went to college for physical therapy, but I didn't get into medical school.
Mm.
So I was sort of lost. And then there was a poster in the mall that said, the Army recruiting, that
Mm-hmm.
they pay back my college loan. So I joined the Army. And they told me, we'll train you as physical therapists, but you have to go in as a military police. And I was like, okay. Well, that was a lie
Uh-huh.
because they don't really need you to go in as a physical therapist when you go in as an MP.
Right.
And I was immediately sent to guard a nuclear missile site in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Later, thyroid cancer.
You had thyroid
Go ahead.
cancer from that appointment, you think?
Yes, from that. But, the Army is not recognizing it yet. Hopefully they will,
Mm-hmm.
but not yet. But I've never had any thyroid. My family doesn't have any thyroid problems. So it's like, how did I get this? And how are my friends getting sick with, then they have families who don't. It's something that maybe down the road they'll recognize, but right now it's not really being widely recognized.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I went, I had a commander, and at the time they could not want women in, and it was okay. And he felt like women were like going to keep the Army down, that the men would turn and protect us at the risk of the mission and everything else. So,
Right.
I mean, his opinion was his opinion, and he's entitled to it.
I mean, I
So
certainly remember that kind of thinking. Like, how many women were you surrounded by on a day-to-day basis during this time?
not very many. I mean, there were probably about 4 or 5 of us in the whole company. And one by one, the commander did try to get them out, and he succeeded with some of them, but they kept sending more females in. So I was like, you know what, dude, this is really not working. And this is not working for you here, but keep trying.
So how long did you stay in the military?
I was in for 3 years, and I got married, and he wanted out. I had hoped to stay in. I was trying then to get into physical therapy because I still had this feeling that I needed to be secure, that I needed to find, a job that I could live with and on. And so I was going to try to get in, but my ex-husband did not want to stay in. So we left and came to California. I was born in Maryland, but we came to California. So then it was start the family,
Right?
go through divorce, and along the way, I took a job as a photojournalist for a little magazine up in my hometown. It was called the Mountain Signal. It's up in Tehachapi, California. I do these articles on the bicycle road coming in or the rodeo. And then Operation Enduring Freedom happened. And I was like, I'm going to contact the military and I'm going to find out if I can go freelance over to Afghanistan and
Mm-hmm.
become a photojournalist. And I got myself in. And it was the most amazing experience that I'll have. I needed something to write that was substantial, something that had meat in it, something that I could really get into the emotions. And ever since Stephen's death and his sacrifice at the embassy, that has always touched me deeply. The sacrifice that military personnel make
Mm-hmm.
and being away from their family. I mean, right now, if you can see behind me, that little baby is
Mm-hmm.
5 months old, and I'm not being able to be around her. So,
Right.
but I was really fascinated by all that sacrifice. And so I really wanted to go over and write about what was going on there. And I went with it at like an Aerovac mission, which was really boring. But I saw this California bear. This guy was walking, and I followed him. And I was like, "What do you guys do?" And he goes, "Well, we're in this platoon, and we do missions to the FOBs, the forward operating bases, in the Chinooks to bring them supplies." And I was like, "How do I get on that?" And afraid of heights, I was flying in a Chinook, my legs dangling over the Chinook with this hook on my back. It was just the most amazing thing. I felt like I could brush my hands over the Hindu Kush. It was
Mm-hmm.
so vivid and so alive. And I think that we have to make our experiences in life to
Yeah.
make our life what we want to.
Yeah, I was thinking while you're telling these stories that you seem like a person who not just wants to write epic stories, let's say, but you want to write them after having lived them yourself. Like you want to feel the wind in your face before you write
Yes.
about it being in your face. It's,
Yes.
well, let's jump forward to where you are right now, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. So I think when people think about when they hear the Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, they basically think of a big military base and, of course, the notorious prison. When you wrote to me about what it's like to actually live there, you called it like the surreal normalcy of everyday life. And I really wanted to ask you, well, what do you mean by that? And give us a picture of what you see on the ground, what it actually is like to live there on a day-to-day basis.
Sometimes I think of like the Truman Show a little bit. I mean, when I look at certain things, I see of them as scenes from a movie that might be the movie of my life. And so it seems Guantanamo Bay where I live, it's pretty flat. I mean, I live in a townhouse, but it just, you don't see trash everywhere. It just seems like a basic military base. Every day at lunch, I take my bike and I ride my bike over to the hospital to get lunch because they have the galley here and it's only like $7.25 to get lunch. So who's going to skip up on that deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I see the ocean and I see the palm trees and it seems like I'm on vacation, but I'm not. So my mind is playing tricks on me. This should be a vacation. You're at the beach, rocky beach as it is, but you're at the beach, but I'm really at work. But
Yeah.
I love the area. I mean, there's beaches, there's pools. I mean, it is a base and we live on a base. We don't go outside the base.
Yeah, so is
Um,
it designed, because I've seen pictures of it before, is it designed to sort of just seem like a normal small town, but you also know you're on a military base? Like for people
I
who've
feel
never
like
been
that.
on a base before, like what does that look like?
I feel like that. I came from Korea, and in Korea, you'd have your card and you go in and out of the base. You'd be checked. You go out. We don't go out of anywhere here.
Right.
We unless we fly. So basically, I feel like it's made to be normal. I've started getting into Zumba and into yoga and stuff at the gym. I mean, there's the pool I can swim at all but one day a week, unless there's lightning and thunder and then they close it. I feel very blessed with all the privileges I have here. I don't get to experience the culture like I did in Pakistan or Morocco or Nigeria or Germany or Brazil or Bahrain or London or all the other places I've been. But maybe it was time for me to just step back and just take a breath. And I have a feeling that the universe knew what I needed and it gave it to me.
What does that mean by what you needed? That you needed like some kind of more.
I needed this experience. I needed this to write about. And so it was offered to me.
Hmm.
And so I feel very grateful and lucky about that.
Yeah, but what is this? You know, because you've been so many different places. Like, how is this place different from everything else that you've done?
There are some stories to tell here, some military stories that I feel could be told here. I'm not somebody who has a secret clearance or anything. I'm not going to know all the secrets, but that's another story I can write. I feel passion. Another story I can feel passionate about writing.
So, just so people know, because you do have a job there, what are you doing during the day? Like, what's your?
During the day, I teach chemistry, biology, science 7, and science 6. So I teach the military kids here. I think we have pretty good education system for the kids. I mean, they're smaller classes, and I'm a science teacher who is also an English teacher and has an English major.
So, since you've gotten to live on so many different military bases, is this one beyond the fact that you can't leave it? Is it unique in any other way, or beyond the palm trees, or kind of give me a picture because I've heard, and I've never been in the military, even though my husband was in the Navy, that oftentimes the bases, regardless of where you are around the world, kind of have certain familiarities about them. But is that even true? I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Um,
So tell me.
I lived in Korea for 2 years, and it was an Air Force base. And we lived off base because we're not military. So, in that case, it was very different. I mean, I would see a lot of the poverty outside in Korea and stuff. And it was different. It was a very different. And you'd see the fields of plants growing and stuff. The garden that I see now is the garden I'm trying to cultivate in my backyard. So with
Mm-hmm.
one romaine plant and one iceberg lettuce plant right now. So, the only other base that I lived on was as a military police officer in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and I lived in the barracks there. And we had pretty nice barracks there, but it was smaller than this. I feel like for the first time in a long time that I have neighbors.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost like
I
you've
have,
moved to a small town in a way. Is that?
yes, I've moved to a small town. It feels more small town because we can't leave this small town
Mm-hmm.
than I think that most military bases would feel.
Yeah. I mean, does that feel constricting ever? And
Not
go.
yet, but I've been here since August. I've heard from people who've been here quite a while that they want to get out pretty badly. But for me, still feel pretty grateful
Mm-hmm.
to be somewhere where I have all these activities that are open to me and I don't have to cook for myself. I can go
Yeah.
out and eat out. And there's not a lot of eating out places. There's one place to shop, one place to buy your groceries. So there's not a lot of variety is here, but I'm kind of more into nature than it is the mall. I'd rather be out there hiking or, I'd rather be out there at the beach or someplace else than I would be comfortable in a mall. And Korea had beautiful malls. I mean, you go to Seoul and it would be like the underground mall and then the above mall. I mean, it was like so many stories high. And the thing I love best about Korea, I think, was the temples and where you'd be outside with these temples and the statues of Buddha and stuff like that. And those were the things I loved best, not the malls, not the shopping.
And we're going to pause here and take a brief break. And remember, if you don't want to hear ads in your listening, consider supporting the show at the new $3 a month level. That way you'll hear ad-free shows all the time. Visit patreon.com/the Bittersweet Life podcast or find the link in the show notes. Back in a flash. And we're back. Well, another thing you wrote to me about was, I think you put it as, the quote you put was, a life spent between cultures.
Yes. I don't get that same thing.
Well, elaborate on what you mean by that. In this, yeah, and where you are right now, it's almost like you're separated from what's happening on the rest of the island, you know? You're separated from the culture of Cuba.
We are separated, but there's a different culture here too. There's a military culture here.
Okay.
And there's a civilian culture. That can be interesting at times. But I think like living overseas, it's always been like when I was in Nigeria, there were so many different things to see that you wouldn't see in the States. I mean, I remember the bright headscarves of women standing on the corners, the coconuts falling from the trees and the palm. It's just such a different feeling. Like I said, you get this movie, like a scene in a movie feeling. When I was in Morocco, I mean, I remember the golf course. I remember the green. I remember fresh orange juice. I remember the bazaars and the tea, the green mint teas. And then when we went to Pakistan, I remember the streets that would be full of water buffaloes and carts and bicycles that were on their rims and buses that were almost toppling over because there were so many people in them. There's such a diversity when you go to different countries. Even in the US, we see like a poor town versus something that's rich and glitzy.
Yep.
We go to Vegas, we're going to get a different feel than if we go to the slums and wherever.
Going back to that concept of being a person who wants to have the wind in your face, you know, you want to like live the experience itself. That's almost like a contradictory idea than the life spent between cultures. Is almost more like you're an observer on the outside of it, you know, like it's both things. So what's your experience with that kind of?
Well, I guess there's a term for a third culture kid.
Yes.
The third culture kids are those kids who have lived overseas and they come back to the States and it's like culture shock because suddenly you're in this huge place. I think I had 25 kids in my class in Pakistan graduating, and then I come to 600 and you get kind of lost. People in the States had like my cousins and everything would have a completely different idea. I remember one summer we were sitting there and they were like, "Oh, did you go to school on a camel? Did you eat camel burgers? I mean, did you smoke camel cigarettes?" I mean, it was like all about camels and stuff. And I was like, I rarely saw camels. I rode them occasionally when we went to like a fish fry, but it's a completely different feeling. I mean, Prime Minister Bhutto, his children went to our school. So my dad had the Bhuttos over. I mean, diplomats had to invite people over. So it wasn't that big of a deal to us kids, I guess, because that was who was there. I mean, that was who we interacted with. It's a different culture. You know, you have people who are so different from you, but at the same time, you go to school with them and you learn that they aren't so different either.
Here you have all of this worldly experience, you know, from growing up and then from being a photojournalist in Afghanistan and all the things that you've done. People often, as you know, people often join the military quite young. Like they come out of high school, they join the military, and sometimes they're sent somewhere else in the world. I think sometimes America has the reputation of not being as well traveled sometimes because we're so far away from every other country, barring Canada and Mexico. It's not easy for us to just pop over to France or to, you know, try other places. Are you encountering these younger folks that just don't have this worldly experience? And like, what is that like when you're working side by side in the military together?
I work at the school. So every teacher here has come over because they wanted to travel. I go to karaoke and I meet like MPs and other people who have a different experience. But I kind of noticed two different type of people, I would say, that join in the military. There's those who joined, but they're not interested really in the culture as much. They kind of stay home, their homebodies. When you come to a base like that and maybe you left your family at home too, it's a little bit more difficult. But when I was in Korea, there would be people that just didn't want to do very much. They wanted to go out and eat in the different places, and then they just wanted to go to work, and then they wanted to go home. And there were people who wanted to go to the jijibas on the weekends. They wanted to go to Seoul. They wanted to go here. They wanted to go there. So I think you can encounter different people. Some of those people will be the people who are out there and want to take advantage of everything, like anywhere else. And then you have the people who are out there and maybe they joined the military because they needed to pay off college or needing to go to college, or they needed it for a different reason. And they don't have that same desire to try to take advantage of the fact that they're in different places. And I can't say they're wrong because we don't have a owner's manual to this life, right? And so we don't know how to live it. And that's scary. That's why I think a lot of people go into drugs and alcohol and stuff, because it's scary to live life when you don't have an owner's manual. It doesn't tell you how to live it. And so I can't really tell these people, that, hey, you should take advantage of stuff because it's their life. They can live it how they want. But I'm just happy that at such a young age, I was able to go out and see different things. I think I was always a writer ever since I was very little, but it kind of helped me have things to say and be able to create those scenes because I've seen them and I've been there and I've done that.
Since you haven't been in Guantanamo Bay that long yet, what will it be like to stay in this relatively cloistered community? Do you think it becomes more surreal, more strange, more like outside the world over time?
I'm not really sure. I just know for me right now, it's time for me to do a lot of my writing and publishing and maybe having a place to settle to do all that. This might be the time for me. I'm looking to see if another opportunity or adventure comes my way. And if it does, I certainly won't be closing the door on it. With DODEA teaching, Department of Defense, we used to be able to go all over, but it's become a point where they don't want to, and rightly so, not spend a lot of money because they move all of our stuff. And I didn't bring anything with me. I said, I'd go furnished. You don't have to ship my stuff. But then they said, we're not going to give you this stuff to use the rest of the time. So you got to buy your own stuff. So I'm like, well, if you want to ship it, then I guess I'll buy it. But this is called the hardship post. And at one time we were allowed, we could be here 1 year and then we could go somewhere else. But it's come to the point where we are now having to stay 3 years and only 5 people get out at a time. So if 5 people who are ahead of me, they've had more years than me, want to get out, then I'm stuck. And we've had some people who've been here 3 years, wanted to get out and couldn't get out.
I see.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but I just hope that I'm able to embrace it. And there's always other kind of travel too. I mean, right now I'm really eager to go and see granddaughter who's 5 months old. And my mom doesn't have a lot of time left. She's 90, so she doesn't have a lot of time left. So to me, maybe this is where I need to be right now. And I don't know. I'm getting older too. Maybe I want to settle down somewhere. Maybe I've done my traveling. But I don't know. It depends on what opens up for me, I guess.
Yeah. As far as like you living on the base, does that mean that your kids can't come visit?
They can come visit. It just
Okay.
takes a little planning. It has to be 45 days. It's hard to get off. If the plane gets full, you can't go back. So
I see.
I asked my daughter-in-law and the baby if they wanted to come stay with me, but they'd be stuck here maybe.
Right.
So it's not easy for them to do that right now.
All right. Well, before I let you go, I have to ask one more question. Since, I've never been to Cuba, what sort of like wildlife are you seeing? Is there a particular bird? Is there a particular something that you love seeing?
Banana rats.
Banana rats.
Banana rats are beautiful. They're so cute. They look like possums and they're in the trees. And I have 3 t-shirts featuring banana rats right now. Iguanas are very protected here. And you have to pay like a $10,000 fine if you run over one. And I have a funny story because the other day I was riding my bike, and if you go downhill, you try to go fast because you need to get up that other hill, right?
Right.
And that's kind of hard. So I'm going really fast, and here comes an iguana. I'm like, he's not going to come out. He's not going to come out. And so I veer off. He comes, he hits my foot. He got a little paws in the air as he flipping around. And I was like, uh-oh, I better turn myself in now because the iguana just hit me in the foot. And cars behind me are stopping, quickly trying to take pictures of my bike to make sure that they know who to arrest for the iguana hitting me in the foot. So I haven't got arrested yet, but it was had me on edge for a little bit.
Not yet, thankfully. Yeah.
Thankfully, yes. So, and turkey vultures, those are the three big things that you see here that you don't often see other places. The big turkey vultures, the banana rats, and lots of iguanas.
I love that. I love that so much. All right. Well, if people want to find your book series, like where should they look for it?
I'm on Amazon right now. So I have 2 of the Hornet novels out. No Behavin' is the first one, and Hornet's Nest is the second one. And they're only 99 cents each for the ebook because I tried to make it affordable for people.
Mm-hmm.
The Embassy Burned is also out on Amazon. And then I did another little one called Baited and Scaling Razor Wire. So there's 5 books out right now. But thank you very much for letting me come on and talk to you today. I do appreciate that, Katie.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you so much for doing it. And feel free to reach out again and let us know if anything major changes in your life. It'd be interesting to see.
Okay, if I have some exciting news, I will let you know.
Okay, yeah, please do.
All right.
Thank
you.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much. And until next time, this is The Bittersweet Life. I'm Katie Sewell. Talk to you next week. Bye. If you would like to move to Italy one day, be sure to visit it first. And maybe a good starting point is Rome. You have the chance to delve into the secret side of Rome this very year, alongside Tiffany and me. We will introduce you to Rome's secret side and tell you amazing stories along the way. Our trip to Rome, the Bittersweet Life trip to Rome, is a trip you will never forget. And it might even be the best trip you've ever taken. You can find all the details at thebittersweetlife.net. I hope you join us in Rome for an unforgettable experience.